Hello, and welcome to another podcast from LLC, Ladies Leadership Coalition, a podcast brought to you by women business leaders. My name is Liz Wayne. I'll be your host today, and I have special guest Dr. Janet Walker with us today. I am excited about our topic. We're going to talk about the modern CEO and executive leader. So first, I'll tell you a little bit about Janet. Janet facilitates private advisory board groups for Vistage, a global leader in executive coaching and training for CEOs, business owners, and key executives. She helps members step out of the day-to-day to think differently, gain insights from other leaders' experience, make better decisions, take bold action, and generate meaningful results. That's a whole lot, so we're going to get into that in a minute. So what I'm really excited to have Janet today because I think you really have a unique perspective on the CEO and the executive business leader. I think you get the privilege to see them in a unique environment and maybe see some sides that they don't always share with the world. So to get us started here, can you tell us a little bit about your professional journey, kind of what led you to Vistage, and then tell us a little bit about Vistage?
Sure. So thanks for, first of all, Liz, thank you for asking me to be here. I'm honored and humbled to be part of your show. The majority of my career has been spent developing people, developing organizations, developing processes. I worked in many corporate leadership roles in healthcare, finance, manufacturing. About the same time that I had my first child and completed my doctorate, I decided it was time to dip my toe into the entrepreneurial world, and I started my own consulting practice. I did that, all the ups and downs, and trying to, in fear and scare of what if I don't make it, and all these types of things, and but we got it going. And about 10 years into it, a physician friend of mine asked me if I would step into his managing director role and help launch a telemedicine company. So I did that, took a sabbatical from my company. The plan always was, let's launch it and get it sold. And we did that. I was a member of Vistage prior to that and through that time. So I experienced the value of having my peers help me, letting me lean on them. There's a lot of stuff I did not know about running a telemedicine company, working for an investor-led organization, meeting weekly with the investors and trying to keep them apprised and at bay that their investment was in good hands. And so it really was valuable to have my Vistage board to help me through those trying times. There's a lot of times that I would be walking down the hallways knowing I needed to make a decision, but I would just keep kicking the can down the road, knowing no one knew that I needed to make that decision until I brought it to my board, and then it was out, and then I could find the courage and find the answers and perspectives to make the decision. We got it sold, and then I'm faced with my clients were ready to start working with me again, but I thought, I feel so stretched and there's more that I can do. And I was in a coaching session with my chair and just trying to get my head around, where do I go next? What about this transition? And literally, I still remember to this day, she throws her pen on the table and she says, you just need to become a Vistage Chair. And worked through that. And for 5 years now, at least 5 years, I've been a Vistage Chair. And it's been a very, as you alluded at the introduction, it is such an honor to sit with the likes of you and other CEOs in all their humanness and help them figure out how do they navigate the stresses and challenges of their business. There's a lot on your shoulders.
Yeah, for sure. And our humanness, that's a good way to put it, because there's not many restrictions at a Vistage meeting. So tell us, what does, for members of Vistage, what does that membership look like? I guess I know what the meetings look like, but tell our listeners a little bit about what we're talking about when we talk about our monthly meetings.
So Vistage is a organization that started over 60 years ago for exactly the experience that I talked about. Is it's lonely at the top. There is no one to turn to, and we'll, to answer questions. There's everybody's figuring out, everybody wants something from them. Everybody wants them to make decisions. Everybody assumes that they know everything. And what it is so Vistage is a membership-based organization. There are 27,000 members worldwide, I believe, at this point. The pandemic has actually helped us increase membership because we've needed support more than ever. But what the membership consists of is monthly we come together with other CEOs and business leaders to bring our decisions, bring our challenges, bring our opportunities, and get different perspectives. The best decisions are made when you've got varying perspectives around the situation. We're all very capable decision makers, but we don't have access of everybody else's experience until we come together and are open to those experiences. We meet monthly. We have monthly workshops where I'll bring an expert on something, depending on what the members are struggling with, what they're planning for. But it's all about continuing to grow the individual who wants to grow the company. And my mantra, which is starting to catch on in Vistage, is I don't care if you're the best leader that you can be. I care, are you the best leader that your employees deserve? And so I'm growing that individual who can then serve and lead the other organizations. The final component to a Vistage membership is the one-on-one executive coaching that I conduct and facilitate with that member.
Very good. So the modern CEO, the executive leader, they have a lot in common, but there's also, they're all very different people as well, which I've learned through Vistage. So everybody kind of takes a different path under different circumstances into their leadership role. In your experience, are the obstacles faced different for the founder than, say, the third generation leader or maybe the hired CEO?
Great question. Well, let me start off with what's similar. They all have the same set of responsibilities: grow the company, lead into the future, create great workforces for their employees. So that's the same challenge or opportunity, however you want to look at. That's the same regardless of if it's a founder, if it's a third generation, if it's a appointed CEO. So the difference with the founder, and Liz, I thought about you as I was writing this, is it's a clean slate. You are coming at this endeavor with your dreams, with your faith, your blind faith, with your determination, and with your belief in yourself. You're going to make this work, and it's a clean slate for you. Oftentimes founders have very little support systems around them. They're creating it as they go. The analogy I use often when I was running the telemedicine company is we are building the plane and flying it at the same time. And so it's a challenging and thus rewarding. But I think one statistic I heard a while ago is 1 out of every 10 business ventures that start actually succeed. So it is a tough road. So that's the founder's challenges. There's no game plan. I got to make it up as I go. The generational leader, whether it be the second generation, the third generation, they've got the history, they've got the data, they've got the playbook, they've got the systems, they've got the culture, they've got the flywheel, they've got all this. And their job is to keep it going, keep it growing, keep it spinning. The challenge is they also, it's more of a mental challenge for them. They have a legacy, they have a reputation, they have a commitment to the previous generations that they want to keep going. That sometimes stymies them. That sometimes messes with their heads. That sometimes keeps them from making changes because grandma, grandpa didn't do it that way. And sometimes they still have grandma and grandpa's first employees with them,
Wow.
either resisting or encouraging. And so it can go a couple different ways. There could be people who say, it's yours, do something with it. But there could be people who are family members. Sometimes the family inheritance is based on the income generated by this now generational leader. There's some fears around, you're not making enough money for me yet. Quit doing things, quit messing stuff up. And so you've got all these relationship and mental challenges that they're dealing with on top of just the normal challenges of running a business. Now, the hired CEO, contextually, I'm assuming it's hired into a family-owned, privately owned business. I'm assuming that's where I'm going to go with this question, is that oftentimes they have a board of directors that has been put in place by sometimes the founder, sometimes the next generation, but they've got a board of directors who could be trying to hold on to legacy started by the founder, or they could be just really good business owners also who are trying to help make sure that there's enough revenue generated for the inheritance that's going to the family members. So the challenge is it could be very much, excuse me, like the generational leader, in that people don't want to change things because it's going to mess it up. And in those cases, that hired CEO that goes into that situation, really they're a figurehead. They want to make decisions, they want to make changes. The board often will not let them. And so that's a different set of challenges that the founder and that the generational leader has.
Yeah, we talk about, the mental side of it, because we all have different challenges there. And it is, we're all running businesses. We all, have to answer to the P&L, maybe to the bank, maybe, to whomever. But all of those different dynamics, especially the family dynamics, I've got to assume that can be challenging for generational leaders. So, a lot of our LLC ladies here are involved in logistics. A lot of our listeners are involved in logistics and members of the TIA. So a couple months ago, I got to do a panel at TIA conference with Rob Kemp and Lynn Gravely. And Lynn shared that sometimes being a CEO feels like being a duck swimming. On the surface, to your team, you're calm and still. Under the surface, the part that nobody sees, you're flailing to stay alive. He reminded the crowd that we're people too and struggle with all the same things they do. And we just try to play it cool with them, being our employees. So in your experience, is his assessment accurate? And, if it is, how does Vistage help its members work through that?
Yeah, I think that has historically been very accurate. And this next statement I'm going to make, please, nobody take this as a feminist or a gender statement, but historically CEOs have been males. And as we age, the mix is leveling off. But history is what we're talking about right now. History is the role model that we follow, and the CEOs of the past felt, because boys don't cry. Remember that from a long time ago. So to take that boy into a CEO role, I need to be strong. Females too. I need to be strong. I need to demonstrate courage. After all, I'm in charge. If I crumble, what's going to happen? So I need to present with confidence and assurance, and I need to take care of my people so that they don't panic. It's a little bit like parenting too. Is we don't, when we have younger kids, how much fear do we show them? And it really is. It's really about that child and what they can handle in our relationship. But it's very much, we start off with this model of I've got to be strong. Fortunately, and in that model, if you imagine if the employees are feeling uncertain and you've got this very strong, confident man or woman standing in front of them who everything's great, and we're looking around, it's like, oh, the world's crumbling. Is he out of touch, or is there something wrong with us? so it just creates this mistrust and this and relationship issues that there are enough relationship issues either. We need to not have those put into it. But so fortunately, as we've become to understand leadership more, male or female, I'm not being gender specific. We're learning that transparency and authenticity is a lot better than false assurances. If there's something to be worried about, let's talk about that. I want a CEO standing in front of their employees who says, yeah, you know what, I'm a little bit nervous about this too, and here's what we're doing. And so what the employees need to know is there is a plan to address this. It's also assuring to them that I am reading this correct. There is something to worry about. I can now also start thinking and be part of the solution versus being kept at arm's length and just saying, no, it's all fine. Go about your business. In that transparency and authenticity, we start to develop trust for each other. And we start to develop relationships and we start to lean on each other. That's really what we need as we're moving through times of challenge. We don't need one person bearing all of it and the rest of us just sitting there wondering what I can do. So in Vistage, I think I've mentioned that our goal is to help each other grow as humans and grow as business leaders, grow our businesses. I have one of my colleagues who we quote say that a CEO enters the room and a human leaves. So it's very much in alignment with your setup is that we forget we're humans when we're leading companies, and we need to really, when we're in our board meetings, and there is an expectation that we'll be vulnerable. In fact, I will not invite someone to join a member if they cannot be vulnerable. So we're there to grow ourselves as humans. We're there to grow our own skills because we can't lead an organization through growth if we're not growing ourselves. So we're there to challenge each other and help each other grow.
Yeah, when you were talking, I was thinking about vulnerability and leadership, and it really doesn't take much. A little bit goes a really long way. And I would very much agree with you. It doesn't harm your credibility at all. It only helps your credibility, especially in bad times, because I don't think any of us want to be Michael Scott, like he's the one everybody, does he know what's going on? Does he see what's going on?
Yeah.
And so you definitely have to find that balance between instilling confidence in your team that you know what you're doing and you will get through the challenges, and being vulnerable enough maybe to say, I don't exactly know how, or we're going to have to try a couple things, or I'm going to need all hands on deck, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, when we are allowing our people to bring all that they have, as soon as we're vulnerable, they can start to see, here's how I can help, here's what I can do, versus if, nope, I got this, we're just relegated to stand back and wait. And that doesn't feel good to me as an employee.
Yep. So I was looking at a Forbes article that talks about the largest challenges the modern CEO faces. And it says that they have a hard time making space for reflection, even though they realize it's crucial for clarity in the strategic process. Do you agree that's a challenge for us? And can it be a competitive advantage for the CEO that makes the time for it?
Yeah. I'm going to break that down a little differently. The CEOs have a hard time making space for a lot of things. And so I agree that there's a challenge with managing time. And I agree that reflection truly is important and can be a competitive advantage. From a reflection standpoint, we're never going to learn, we're never going to change if we don't stop and look and understand and reflect on what were the situations, why did I do this, would I do it again? There's a whole variety of ways of reflecting, and there's different, so the different ways of reflecting are, let's get a group together. Let's get our group together after we just went through this, and let's reflect. What did we do well? What would we do differently? Where are our strengths? Where do we need to shore up some resources, processes, etc. So groups can reflect around things. Individually, I can and I should be reflecting on things, but that's where the time management piece comes in. We think we need to be available to everybody, and in a little bit, it's maybe for me, it's an ego thing. The more somebody needs me, wants me, the more I can contribute, the more I feel like I'm bringing value. I don't need to be available 100% of my time. So it really is the difficulties around how we think about our scheduling. We had a productivity speaker in at one of our workshops. She said, if you schedule a 60-minute meeting, the conversation is going to expand to fill that 60 minutes. If you schedule it for 45 minutes, you still got the same amount of things done, and everybody has that extra 15 minutes. Her guideline was give 15 minutes before meetings, 15 minutes after meetings, so you can reflect, so you can summarize, so you can plan, so you can delegate the activities, so you can just bring that all to conclusion, and then say 15 minutes before the next meeting, so you can review what you need to do, be present, and get ready. And so none of that equals 60 minutes. So have a 30-minute meeting, have a 45-minute meeting. In those breaks, you can build some reflection in. Mm-hmm. Some people reflect by journaling, daily, weekly, whatever works for you. And in that reflection comes the awareness of, here's some themes of strengths, themes of challenges. So just brings present just the rote activities that we are going through. You asked, can it be a competitive advantage? When my mind is sharp, when I'm focused, when I'm role modeling these things for my employees, you bet it is an advantage. When I've learned to organize my thinking and my day, which is an output of the reflection, I can be more present. I can be more open to new ideas. New ideas start to come out. I am more approachable because I'm more relaxed. When I'm focused, I'm relaxed, and this might just be me. But when I am bogged down with all these different things I haven't downloaded yet out of my mind, I start to get more stressed, and that comes out. So it's a competitive advantage when I'm more present to my employees, and when they learn to do the same thing.
Well, as you're talking there, now I know what we're going to talk about later this week, because I am a little scattered as of the last couple of weeks with some projects I have going on at work, and I am probably lacking in all of those things right now because I'm not very organized and not planning my time very well, and I'm a little scattered, not in general, but here the last couple of weeks. That's all on point. That's exactly how you feel. And you've got to think that's bringing your best self has got to be a competitive advantage, if you're a competent leader. So another challenge that Forbes mentions is building a strong management team. So how does this affect the CEO who is still striving to build that team?
Yeah. I don't know a CEO who doesn't want to grow his or her company. They can't do it on their own backs, at least not for very long. That founder can do everything for a little while, but growth, when you start adding people, you need to start figuring, collectively, the CEO needs to start figuring out how to build that team to really get going. Some people are naturals at this, and some people it's a struggle for them. As I think about this, there's a couple attributes I think that are either natural or can be learned. The CEO has to have the ability to have a vision of where the company is going. If the CEO doesn't have that vision, it's not coming from somewhere else. And if it does come from somewhere else, that person's going to take their vision and go somewhere else. So the CEO has to have that vision of where the company is going. CEO has to have the ability to communicate that vision in lots of different ways. It's not just our vision is XYZ, slap it on a piece of paper, paint it on the wall, do whatever. There's a lot of ways that you continue to communicate and explain that vision. The CEO has to have the ability to set expectations and clearly define and communicate those expectations. You know, one of the things that I've found with not all the members, maybe not, there's a consistent theme. CEOs oftentimes are not good communicators. And, you know, as we're doing our, you know, our executive sessions and somebody has a problem with an employee, somebody else will say, well, do they know what their expectations is? Well, they should. You know, how do we perform to assumed expectations? So the CEO, to get that strong leadership, really needs, it comes back to, have I set the expectations? Am I clearly defining those expectations? And then once that's done, and here's really a personality thing, they have to learn to trust other people and to let go of that control. And those people who are determined, have the dream, have the vision, those are the ones that it's harder to let go of the control, because this is my baby. I don't want anybody to mess it up. We've got to assume we've hired the right people, and we've got to assume they're going to make mistakes, but nobody's going to die. You know what? From going back to parenting, if every time our kids fell down, we went and grabbed them and picked them up, it would take them forever to gain their strength and learn how to walk. So we've got to expect people aren't going to do things perfectly, and they'll figure it out. And then once you've got those pieces going, step back, give them the resources, give them support, let them struggle, and let them grow and get stronger.
It's hard. It's hard for the CEO, like it is for the parent. You know, even if you know it's best not to pick them up, it's hard to see them fall.
Yeah. We don't want them to struggle. We don't want them to make mistakes, for their sake as well as ours.
So is it hard to find the, you know, because one part of that, casting the vision, right, is a total different skill set than the clearly defining expectations. You know, one is more management, you know. So is it hard to, do you find typically, I guess I'll say that, you know, an executive leader tends to be stronger in one area, either more able to cast a vision or more able to communicate expectations? Because to me, just in my experience with people, like, I know which one I'm good at and which one I'm bad at, you know, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head, you know, who are a few people that are really good at both? So is that a challenge to do both?
It can be. I mean, it's also possible to do both, but it doesn't start naturally. I think so you identified a very key thing, is, you know, what you're strong in and what you're not as strong in. A lot of people haven't reflected to figure that out. And if I know that I'm not as good at communicating something, some direction, some expectation, managing performance, I need to have somebody on my team that I trust who can do that. And so hire to your weaknesses. Don't be threatened by somebody who's better at that. Just be thankful that they're better at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're running out of time here. So, you know, one more quick question, because as you mentioned in the beginning, it is the top of the org chart can be a lonely place, right? And, until I got to this point in my career, I looked forward to like my annual reviews and these other things because I was performance driven. I had high expectations on myself. I mean, I probably did a pretty decent job for people. That's probably why I looked forward to them. But, once you get far enough along in the org chart, you don't really get the feedback you need anymore. And so, I know and I believe, my business leader peers and friends when they say that they're open to the feedback and that they want the feedback and their door is always open. Like, I have no doubt. But are employees comfortable giving it? Are they, no matter how comfortable we are to receive it, are they comfortable giving it? And where can the business leader get, the crucial feedback, the come on, man, that we need?
Yeah. So historically, there's been that separation. So even though some of our employees today don't have that history, it's a learned behavior. I heard a CEO one time say, the higher up in the organization I went, the less truth I realized I was getting.
Right.
He's not saying people are lying. He's getting further and further away from where the products and services are interacting with the customers. He is getting more authority and more power that people assume he controls their destiny. So they're going to tell them, they're going to tell the CEO what they think he or she wants to hear, or they're going to tell them just enough to preserve their own job or somebody else's job if they think it's at risk. So it starts to get more and more filtered the higher up they go in the organization. I don't know if that answers your question. But the solution is, how do they continue to be approachable and create that respect, create that relationship with employees, cut through the bureaucracy. I don't care how large your organization is, how many layers. You're all humans working together.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this was fun, Janet. I appreciate you being here with us today.
The time flew by. Thank you for inviting me.
It really did. We'll have to do it again so we can talk for longer. So for our listeners, you can find Janet on LinkedIn, and I'm sure she'd love to talk to you more about leadership or Vistage. So follow her tag that you see here, and join us next time for another episode of the LLC podcast. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Happy leading.